Welcome back to mckilliplife. My name is Amber, and this is going to be an unpacking vlog for February the 16th, 2025. So this day was all about decorations and putting the finishing touches on the hallway and as well as the office. Things have been changing in the hallway because, we moved the dream sign into the living room and I changed the picture that was at the end of the hallway. So things are shifting and moving around. So one of the features in our hallway is this small baby quilt. It has good memories for our family. Throughout the years, we've spent a lot of time down at the Children's Hospital in Dallas. And as a result, we also spent time in the Ronald McDonald House. And this was one of the gifts that West and his family received at the Ronald McDonald House when his son was young. Here we paused from working in the hallway to work in the living room. This large bucket is all of West's memory things that were once part of the shelf in the living room. And we had talked about going through them and handpicking a few items that he'd like to continue displaying because there were still 3 different cubbies above the TV that were empty. And I wanted to showcase some of his items in there. And so at this time, we took the time to go through them and choose items. Without the large shelf, we can't display all of this, but like I said in the previous videos, we don't necessarily want to because it's a lot of things to dust, a lot of things to maintain. Having a curated collection was our choice for today. So here we are back to the hallway, and let me go back to my story about the Ronald McDonald House. We have a great fondness and a softness for the Ronald McDonald House charities in our heart. Public service announcement: if you ever want to donate to a Ronald McDonald House, go to the house directly and give money, because they said the collection boxes that you can see in the McDonald's restaurants, they only receive a very small percentage of that. It actually makes it to the houses. So it's better to make direct donations at the houses that you're interested in doing. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, McDonald's has a charity that they run called Ronald McDonald Houses, and they're located next to major hospitals. And if a family is in need and in crisis and are needing emergency temporary housing, they can stay in these houses. And usually they're for a crazy, ridiculous low price. Like, I believe they wanted a donation of $11 a night, and the room housed our entire family. So the patient was in the hospital and the family was in the house, and we had sometimes 4 and sometimes 6 people staying in the room. And with the changing of the decorations throughout the house, now it's a matter of reimagining what this particular wall is going to look like. That slice of wood we're hanging up was actually from our wedding reception, and that was our guest book. We had people sign the board with permanent marker, and then I sealed it afterwards. So overall, I think this wall turned out really nice. I think it's minimal and clean and straightforward. Well, a little bit, the only thing I don't quite know about is that bottom picture. It's has really small printing on it, so I'm not quite sure if hanging it at the lowest level is great, but I think it's okay. Next, we'll be moving on to the end of the hallway. This little shelf we're putting up is a memento from one of West's family members, and I used to have it in the guest bathroom, and I put seasonal decorations on it, but with the remodel of the guest bathroom, it makes it feel very narrow, the front bathroom. And I don't feel good about hanging something on the opposing wall and making it feel like you have to avoid a shelf in order to walk through the bathroom. I don't think it actually is technically narrower, but because the cabinets grew in size and we added more cabinets in there, it just visually seems more narrow. And also, a little brown shelf doesn't quite go with a gray and white and silver bathroom anymore. So this was my solution, was to move it into the hallway so that when you're walking down the hallway, you can see the decorations at the end. Because I usually put decorations on that little table underneath. So this just gives me more options. And at some point in the move, My table got some sort of nick in it, and so I went out to the garage and picked up the rag with the wood stain from the previous day and just tried filling in some of the spots that were really standing out on the surface. Next, we're moving on to the shelf on the right-hand side. This wall used to have our collage of family pictures, family and friends, and we intend on putting it back up there, but we need to save for a new picture because my grandma turned 100 recently, and so we have a family reunion picture I want to get printed and to put on the wall. But it's going to be rather large. It's a panoramic, so it's almost 2 feet wide. So whenever we end up getting that, it's definitely going to change the arrangement of the pictures on this wall. All those pictures are currently sitting on top of my sewing desk waiting for the time that we can save up the money to order the picture, because pictures like that are not cheap. I think I could get the actual picture printed for like $11, but then you want to frame it. Or in my case, I'm going to go for the canvas printed wrapped option. And it's not cheap. I think it's $60 at the end of the day. So that's just one of the items to be added to our list of things to save for. And in the meantime, we'll just go ahead and put our shelf back up. On this shelf, I had a plant and a light that came across and hung over it, as well as just some frame decorations. I foresee us needing to have a flexible space to have changing pictures because we do have a grandson now, and I expect to see lots of pictures throughout the years. And rather than trying to change the wall, it's nice to just have a shelf to put a frame. And unlike what I said in the last video, it turns out that we did not wait to do these blinds. West was in a get-it-done mood and had the energy and time to work on it. Completely forgot that we went ahead and finished all the blinds. But with help moving the desk, it's only possible because we had help moving the desk. So our office is definitely a space that needs to be worked on. Once these blinds are done, the end of our moving in process involves working on our garage and resetting it, working through everything that got tossed in there, and cleaning up all the mess that we created and creating different things around our house. And also coming in and resetting up Wes's work environment, because in the course of time after the water leak happened, before we moved into the rental, we were actually staying with Wes's mom, helping her recover from a surgery. And during that time, he set up a home office there to work. And that's still currently there, but that is actually like half of his office here. We moved over there. So we need to consider what our options are in terms of leaving a home office set up at our house or bringing everything back here, because currently he has supporting computers that he uses for his work set up in different areas around the room, where if he had another desk, they'd all be consolidated over there. I told West one of the blessings of staying at the rental was we were not surrounded by projects that were waiting for us to be done or projects we wanted to do. You were simply living there. You had your essential items that you were using day to day, and you were not surrounded by your to-do list. And coming home, yes, it's good to be home, but everywhere I look, it's like, okay, that needs to be done. We had plans for this. We want to upgrade that. We want to rearrange this. And it's just you looking around and you're seeing the silent to-do list, as the minimal mom would say. And that is part of what people talk about, the advantages of minimalism and decluttering, is that the less things you have, the shorter your to-do list is. That was probably what we experienced at the rental, is that projects around the house were not our projects. They were the homeowner's project. They weren't ours. We did try to treat it like our own home, so when there's things that needed to be done that weren't like excessive, we did take care of them. Like there was a tree outside, we actually texted pretty early on if we could possibly trim it because it was in desperate need of being trimmed up, and the owner was like, yeah, go ahead. So that felt nice to make a difference for the better. This will probably be one of the last videos about unpacking from the move. I think the next video is going to be a final walkthrough of the house, showing you how everything has come together. Because from here on out, we need to sit down as a couple and make a master to-do list for all the projects that we want to do, and just sort of sort it out and categorize it according to these things are free and it just takes our time and effort, or these things we need to save up for, and then start assigning a priority. All of those things are things that were here previously, or we've thought of as we've moved in, but they're not necessarily part of the move-in process. It's definitely a shift in mentality for me to go from we are in emergency mode, going day by day, working through the projects and the next step in bringing our house back together. My brain kind of thrives in that environment of what's the next project, what's the next thing, and we have a very concrete deadline or somewhat concrete deadline, and you have immediate gratifications of finishing projects. And when you come out of that, often like right now, I'm in a kind of overwhelm of I look around and I see projects, but the way forward isn't as obvious or clear. The priorities aren't as obvious and clear. The deadlines, the timelines, all those sort of things are just mushy. I do think that we're coming into a season of resetting and refocusing our life, restarting our routines, refocusing what we want to be working towards. And I was trying to think about it in the time since May, when everything happened in 2024, but I've had very little recreational activities since all this has happened. And I believe it's because my brain's been in the emergency crisis mode. So it's going to take a little bit for me to come out of that and readjust to everyday life, and for us to come up with our priorities. Because there's a lot of things when I look around the house, I say, I feel like I'm behind. Like all of our outdoor projects, all of the garden stuff that needs to be cleaned up from the last season and prepped for the new season. I am so grateful that we took the time to put in the garden before everything happened with, I can't remember exactly now if we did it after the water leak or during it or before it. But I'm glad that it was established before we ended up going to the rental and going over to our mom's house. Because during everything, we were still able to come back and collect the produce of the garden. And having it be a raised potted garden makes it so you are not dealing with weeds. I'm grateful that it was already established, and I'm looking forward to the new year, but I'm also kind of overwhelmed because of all that needs to happen in order to make that happen. And like my front garden of the house is completely swallowed up by crabgrass. And that's discouraging because I've been finding that as long as I've lived here. Every year we try to weed it and reset it and try to have plants planted in there that are perennial that'll take over, and it never really seems to work. That's one of the things I want to be researching to see how I can overcome the crabgrass. But that's a future project. That's a future thing to do. So in the meantime, I thank you so much for joining us on this journey of finding the problem in our house, going through the full remodel, and coming home and unpacking and getting set up again. And I'm so excited to share the next video with you, which will be the house tour, bringing this chapter in our life to a close. Until next time, feel free to like and subscribe so you can continue being part of this journey. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful day.